You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung. First this morning, the race is on at the national level and here in Kansas. Now, Kansas United for Civil Liberties, or Voter Education Committee affiliated with the ACLU of Kansas, now promising significant intervention in at least 10 state house and countywide races. Their investment, $600,000. Joining me now is Micah Kubik, Executive Director of ACLU of Kansas. And Micah, KUCL is focusing on these races that involve civil liberties. Tell me a little bit about how that factors in.
So our goal with Kansans United for Civil Liberties is to really give voters accurate information about the positions of candidates. We think that no matter what your party is, no matter what your affiliation is, everyone wants accurate information. Everyone wants to be well informed. And our goal is to have informed voters. We think that when voters are informed, they show up, they have their values articulated, and that shows up in the end. So our goal here is really to educate voters about critical civil liberties issues. We know that folks across Kansas are worried about the future of democracy, are worried about reproductive freedom, are worried about privacy, are worried about criminal legal reform that results in improved public safety. And we want to make sure that issues like that are really at the forefront of all of these races. Left entirely to their own devices, candidates might talk about something else entirely. Our job is to make sure that voters know the positions of candidates on those issues so that they can cast an informed ballot.
All right, and also, this is a lot of cash. I want to mention that, $600,000. In the announcement, that you guys made, you cite two specific races. So that includes one with Republican primary in House District 60, Republican incumbent Mark Schreiber winning that one. Then you also mentioned House District 35 in Wyandotte County, where Wanda K. Page, a school board member in KCK, is running unopposed. So with these 10 races, I'm assuming there's no political lean, but it's also raising the question of what civil liberties these candidates align on despite their party affiliation.
So you're right. First of all, it is a big cash infusion. We think it is one of the largest investments on behalf of civil liberties in the history of the state of Kansas, certainly in the electoral context. And that infusion is warranted because the stakes in this election are so very high. I don't think that's a mystery to anyone that the stakes in this election are high. Everyone always says this is the most important election of our lifetime, every single election. This time I think it really is true, both nationwide and here in Kansas. And so the investment is based on that. Those two races were ones, the two in the primary that we invested in, a Democratic primary and a Republican primary, proving that this is really not about partisanship. This is not about the tribes that we sometimes find ourselves in, but rather about our shared values as Kansans. And in those particular cases, I think those shared values were about a belief in democracy, a belief in secure elections that really ensure that eligible folks are able to vote, and about making sure that government stays out of people's private lives and individual business, all of them really about freedom. The same holds true for the other investments that we're going to make over the course of the general election, where in every case you'll see there is a disparity in candidates in the race, one candidate against another. We're interested in pointing out distinctions for folks. It's not interesting to anyone if all of the candidates have the same position. In an individual race, our goal is to point out where candidates have position X versus position Y. The thing that will bind all of those together, though, is that they have to be about civil liberties issues. We have no interest in partisanship. We don't align with either party. It is instead, where do folks stand on key issues around freedom, around democracy?
All right, looking past November, what's the end goal? Because I know the governor, she also has her own pact that she started where it looks like she's eventually hoping to reshape the legislature and get more of her policies passed. So what's KUCL hoping for?
So our goal, first and foremost, is to make sure that voters cast an informed ballot. We say all the time, we don't care who you vote for. We want you to be able to vote, first of all. We're going to defend your right to vote as the ACLU. We're going to make sure you cast an informed vote through Kansans United for Civil Liberties. And we believe that when that happens, the civil liberties movement will be heard, will show its full force and power in this state. And as a result, we will get different policy outcomes from our legislators and from countywide elected officials. Not, again, based on their party or ideology, but based on our shared values. There is oftentimes a mismatch in this state between what voters say they want. For example, in August of 2022, when almost 60% of voters said that they wanted reproductive freedom to remain the law in this state, and the outcomes that we have gotten from legislators in the 2 years since, when there has been a relentless attack on that very same principle. there's a mismatch between the outcomes and what voters want. And our goal here with this program is to try and make sure that there is no longer a mismatch, because voters are casting informed ballots and are getting exactly what they want, what they need, and what they deserve as Kansans.
All right, and Micah, before we wrap, I want to get your thoughts on the Secretary of State's comments on X that he made the other day. So he made a dig at the ACLU regarding the USPS debacle, where he accused them of mishandling ballots during the primary, the USPS specifically, leaving some without postmarks. He said on X, "I thought the ACLU, League of Women Voters, these are other voting rights groups, and Loud Light hated voter suppression. I hope they challenge the USPS like they sue election officials." And I wanted to give you a chance to respond to this. And also, will the ACLU be challenging USPS when it comes to this issue?
So we share Secretary Schwab's concern about the United States Postal Service. We have, in fact, nationwide been articulating a critique of the Postal Service since this issue first arose, not a few days ago, not a few weeks ago, but more than 4 years ago during the 2020 elections. And the ACLU nationwide has been calling for wholesale reform of the Postal Service to ensure that voters' rights are respected in the 4 years since. What is also important, though, here, is that this is a reminder of how important early voting is, early in-person voting. And the fact of the matter is that all across Kansas, we don't do as much as we could to support early voting, including in places like Shawnee County, where for the entire county, for hundreds of thousands of people, there is one single, sad, solitary early voting location. That is solely at the discretion of the Shawnee County Election Commissioner, who reports to Secretary of State Scott Schwab. I believe Secretary Schwab absolutely wants folks' right to vote defended. He's shown that a number of times. And so I would encourage him to use this opportunity to look at those levers as well. Yes, let us criticize and critique and hold the Postal Service accountable, but let's also take the other actions that are already available to us to help correct that. And that includes making more early voting locations available and making more days of early voting available within the existing confines of the law. And that's something that can happen in Shawnee County, can happen in Wyandotte County, can happen in Johnson County, can happen in Sedgwick County. And those are the 4 places where the Secretary of State directly appoints and holds accountable the election commissioners who make those decisions.
All right, Micah, thank you so much. We have the latest on tensions over mail-in ballots in Kansas later on, but first, other groups are also hoping their issues are focused on next year. We'll hear from one of them next. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Want an easy way to brighten up your day? Get beautiful new window fashions from the #1 provider of custom window coverings in North America, Budget Blinds. Go online and get a free consultation right at home. It's that easy.
It's more than a move. It's a new job for her, a new baseball team for him. And for Badger, it's a new yard with more room to roam. It's more than a move, and we're more than a truck.
Air not blowing, pipes not flowing, bulbs not glowing? Blue Dot Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical can fix it all. Our experts are at your service 24/7. After 65 years, we are proud to be the only 24/7 emergency provider for HVAC, electrical, and plumbing in Topeka. We offer several 0% interest options or even extended terms with low monthly payments. We have plans to fit your needs and your budget. So call Blue Dot, one call for all your home comfort needs at 785-272-1633.
At Prairie Band Casino, there are many ways to play your way. Pull up a chair, play it cool, and take your game to new heights.
Harness the raw power and American spirit of a legendary Ford Mustang GT when you enter Mustang Mania.
Discover more ways to play your way.
Prairie Band Casino and Resort.
If you're a potential student and you're thinking about where to go for college and you're trying to decide, why would I go to Washburn? I can tell you, people are going to know you. You're going to sit in classes with people and professors who know who you are and know what your dreams are and help you achieve those dreams. And one of the things that is so unique about Washburn University is that we have a pathway. No matter what your educational goal or dream is, we have a place here for you. You belong at Washburn.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. The KUCL isn't the only group hoping to see their efforts pay off. Americans for Prosperity, or AFP Kansas, is also hoping for some wins in November. It's branded as a grassroots organization, and one of the key focuses for this group, lower taxes and limited government spending and regulation. Joining me now is Liz Patton, State Director of AFP Kansas. And Liz, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be here.
Great to have you on. We wanted to start with some of the efforts AFP is making leading up to November. So where do things stand with money right now? What are some of the key races you're investing in and focusing on?
Sure. I think what makes AFP unique in some of this with investment is that we are a grassroots organization, right? So much of our strategy and our efforts are focused on where we have our volunteers and our activists and our staff just on the ground talking to everyday Kansans. And we are just making sure that we get the message out that way primarily. And of course, we're always up for layering tactics in the old traditional ways. We see a lot of other folks spend money, but we put in a little bit extra hard work there in a way that maybe some of the other groups don't.
All right, and some of the key races, are there
Sure.
some in particular that you're focusing your efforts towards?
You know, we have a lot of races around the state this year for a lot of different reasons. We do politics only because of policy. So that really means that we are behind folks who are going to focus on making a difference for our state and do what they say when they get to Topeka. And I think that's the real difference in why we get involved in a race. It's not about the party label behind their name. It's about, will they do what they say they're going to do? So in a large part because of that, we saw lots of games last session, and we saw lots of flip-flops on votes. And I think because of that, two of the highlighted races that I wanted to talk about tonight in particular were looking at the opportunity to unseat State Senator Usha Reddy and also State Senator Jeff Pittman. I think we saw both of them vote largely against their district on both taxes and on regulatory code in Kansas, among a lot of other things. And those are two that we are really interested in making sure that their district knows how they have actually voted and where they stand.
All right, and I also wanted to talk about, we talked to KUCL about civil liberties being at the forefront of some of these races that they're backing. Tell me which issues are at the forefront for your group when it comes to throwing your support behind certain races.
There's a lot of issues we talk about, and if you want to look at our full agenda, if anybody's interested, go to either sunflowerstatesolutions.com or ksscorecard.com. Both of those have kind of the full spectrum of everything we touch. But you mentioned it earlier, we are concerned about the economy. We're concerned about taxes, inflation, the cost of living, energy prices. I'm a mom, and I have gone to the grocery store and have friends who right now are having to make the decision between whether or not they buy certain things at the grocery store or if they cancel ballet lessons this month. And I think those issues that we work on to try to get more money back in taxpayer pockets, make sure government is more efficient, and we are doing things like lowering energy rates and reducing unnecessary regulatory burdens. Lowering that cost of living for Kansans matters most, and that's the issue we're focused on.
And looking past the election, looking ahead to the next legislative session, what are some of the things that you're hoping for to see play out based on the races that you're backing? What sort of reshape of the legislature are you looking for?
Sure. I think we have a really excellent coalition of policy champions there right now. We hope in some of our race engagements to retain a lot of those folks. And in the changes we hope to make, we are anxious to see a smarter budgeting process, more efficient government. The state budget has increased, I think, 60% or more in the last 10 years. And we think, our budgets have not increased 60% in the last 10 years. So we'd like to see more efficiency there. We would also like to see even more tax reform done on the state level. We saw a little bit, but we think with us being one of the highest tax states in the region, we can do more to make sure that we are not wasting taxpayer money. So I'm very hopeful for those two things. We are also very interested in lowering our energy rates here in Kansas and making sure, again, that the red tape that can constrain so many individuals and businesses, that gets out of the way and lets people live their lives.
Liz, thank you so much. The election season is heating up. We're breaking down where things stand with top races in Kansas, plus how the presidential shakeup post-debate could impact how things play out here. And Secretary of State Scott Schwab escalating his challenge against USPS over allegedly mishandling ballots. What he's demanding now. That's coming up. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Ladyfingers Automotive. Family-owned auto repair with hands that understand your vehicle. Quality repairs done at an affordable cost. When you're in need of service, repair, or towing, remember Ladyfingers Automotive.
Vanderbilt's is the place to save this fall. Carhartt Relaxed Fit jeans are in stock now. Our price, $44.99. Save $45 on our special purchase Reed neoprene boots, $99.99. Check out the new styles of horsepower boots, starting at $219.99. Waterproof Double H Phantom Rider safety toe boots, $144.99.
Your work boots center, Vanderbilt.
Topeka, you've spoken, and thanks to you, Devon James wins. Dustin Devon was voted Best Personal Injury Attorney, and Devon James was voted Best Law Firm in the Topeka 2023 Official Community's Choice Awards.
Thank you, Topeka, for making Devon James your choice of law firms.
Best Law Firm and Best Personal Injury Attorney. If you've been injured, Devon James wins. Call 888-8888.
The Storm Track Weather Cam Network on 27 News. More cameras covering your community, giving you a live exclusive look at weather as it rolls across northeast Kansas.
That is the view in Holton as that storm is starting to clear out.
Working for you to provide advance warning of changing conditions. The Storm Track Weather Cam Network, available live to you anytime, online, and on the 27 News mobile app. Sponsored by Prairie Band Casino and Resort.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. First, a letter sent by Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab demanding answers and action from the Postal Service. Now, Schwab claims USPS mishandled 1,000 ballots from Kansas voters in the August primary. Some ballots arrived late or didn't have the required postmark. He wants to make sure this doesn't happen again in the general. USPS spokesman Mark Inglet also responding to our request for comment, and he also says it has been the long-standing policy of the Postal Service to make sure that every return ballot receives a postmark. And Bob Beatty is here with me now, political analyst. Bob, I wanted to get your thoughts on this before we move on, because we already talked about how mail-in ballots, they can inherently pose a risk, but they can also be convenient or an easier option for some that aren't able to make it to the election office.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab, this is exactly what I think he should be doing, and he's doing his job. This is what the taxpayers of Kansas pay him to do, which is to be the voice for voters and to make sure that their vote is counted. And if he has to, get a little loud and ruffle some feathers and maybe rattle some cages in the Postal Service, that's fine. It's a good time to do it now rather than being overly reactive in November. But your point is also correct that mail-in ballots do serve a purpose. People that are in assisted living or nursing homes, or they get sick, or they have a long-term illness, whatever the case, they might have to vote by mail. And so we've heard some people want to get rid of vote by mail. When I went to Iowa, I heard some candidates saying same-day voting only. And that's not what he's talking about. He's just talking about if people do have to vote by mail, then he wants to make sure that the post office is doing its job. If there's a little bit of wariness about the mail-in vote, I would advise people to think about doing something else if they can't make it on Election Day.
All right, moving on to some of the top races we're watching this election. It's the road to Congress. Several candidates are vying for their spot on the Hill. Here's a look at the November matchup. Now we have former District 2 Congresswoman and Democrat Nancy Boyda facing off with former Attorney General Derek Schmidt in District 2. Going over to District 3 now, another heated race as incumbent and Democrat Sharice Davids tries to defend her seat as the state's lone Democrat in Congress. She's facing off with Republican and Dr. Prasanth Reddy. Now Davids also running TV ads, and Reddy weighing in. Take a listen.
2 years ago, Kansans voted to protect abortion rights. Now Prasanth Reddy and his backers want to rewrite history. Reddy supported dismantling Roe v. Wade, giving politicians the power to take away women's rights. and he's taken over $100,000 from MAGA politicians hell-bent on banning all abortions, even in Kansas.
Folks, Sharice Davids is lying to you. She's desperate to keep her job and wants to distract you from her record. I'm Dr. Prasanth Reddy. I'm an immigrant, a military officer, and a cancer doc. I'm running to lower your costs, secure our border, and I respect and will never undo the decision of Kansas voters on abortion.
Okay, now I will say District 3 getting a little bit more heated than District 2. We haven't seen Boyda's ads yet. We'll get back to that later. But first, what's your take on the back and forth between Reddy and Davids?
Well, first of all, yes, this is the most intense race in all of Kansas for any national seat. There's no question about it. And I think we're going to be seeing more of this back and forth on the abortion issue. It's an issue that right now Democrats, including Sharice Davids, feel that the majority of the people are with them. And even in the most recent presidential debate, Donald Trump even mentioned Kansas, saying, oh, Kansas voted more liberal than people thought on abortion. So the Republicans, including Prasanth Reddy, are still a little bit on the defensive on the abortion issue, trying to figure out how they're going to approach it. So I think Sharice Davids sees it as a winning issue in this race, and it may become one of the biggest issues.
Now, we did have a candidate forum. That was something that Sharice Davids was absent for. If you know the reason why, you can let us know. But we did see Boyda and Schmidt have a little bit more of their say on some of the key issues that they're campaigning on. So tell me a little bit about what your takes on that, and also no clear bashing so far that we can see from that.
Yeah, the second district race, Nancy Boyda, the former congresswoman for that district, she came out of the primary a bit of a surprise, because many Democrats in Washington, D.C. wanted Matt Kleinman to win that. They thought he was sort of a new face. But it's Nancy Boyda. And yeah, in that forum, there was, Schmidt and Boyda were not attacking each other. In fact, Nancy Boyda made more of a shout out to Tracy Mann, the first district Republican congressman, saying, hey, if I won, I would hope you would work with me. And so she's presenting herself as a so-called, as a centrist. She argues more moderate, willing to work with right or left. And in that case, Derek Schmidt may not feel the need to attack her, although it's possible that as the election gets closer to November, we may see an attack ad. But for now, you're right, it's pretty calm. So interestingly enough, we don't have some really wild national congressional races in Kansas, but these legislative races that are being targeted, again, just 2, 3, 4 seats, hundreds of thousands of dollars could be spent. It's kind of like being in a swing state for the presidential election.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. When we come back, highlights from the presidential debate and how it could impact what we see in Kansas come November. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Congratulations, Fawn Moser, this month's Everything Woman honoree for decades of dedication to Topeka Zoo, helping create new attractions and memorable experiences for guests.
Everything Woman, sponsored by Sharp Honda, Topeka ER and Hospital, and Washburn University.
It's amazing how quickly life can change. But through it all, your Renewal by Andersen windows remain the same. Renewal by Andersen windows, built for life. Buy 2 windows and get 75% off the third. Plus, enjoy no interest and no payments for a year. Visit our website for details.
Did you know that on average, every 10 days a child dies from heat stroke in a vehicle? These deaths are preventable. Please, look before you lock.
Our local businesses are filled with hardworking, dedicated entrepreneurs who are Kansas proud. Consider shopping these Kansas proud businesses. Businesses like Lawrence Art Center, Squishington's Candy Shop, and Squeegee Squad.
Impact the lives of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, supported by SLI. Visit slitopeka.org to donate today.
for watching 27 KSNT, Kansas Association of Broadcasters Station of the Year.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. It was the first face-off between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Still mixed opinions about how things played out that night. Inside Kansas Politics, Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson has the highlights and how both sides are reacting.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Following Tuesday night's debate, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are taking victory laps. The two sparred for 90 minutes on key issues like the economy.
Investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors.
Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation.
And abortion.
The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers are reacting to the debate. Democrats say Harris had a strong night, and Republicans say it was a good night for Trump, but took issue with the moderators.
And we weren't able to pressure Kamala a little bit more on issues that she's been flipping on. Yeah. It wasn't nice we had focused on that, because that actually is what it comes down to, what are the policies.
I mean, I was almost feeling bad for Donald Trump towards the end of it. It was not a good performance by him.
Immediately after the debate, the Harris campaign said it wanted to do that again. Trump had pushed for multiple debates, but Wednesday said,
You know, when you win, you don't really necessarily have to do it a second time, so we'll see.
Political scientist Todd Belt believes we will see the two on a debate stage again before the election.
I don't think we got as much policy specifics as we could have.
And we're also learning that Trump won't be doing another debate. That's something that he has announced and his campaign has announced. Wanted to get your take really quick, Bob, on what exactly we're seeing play out here in this debate and how this could impact what we see play out in Kansas come November. Did they make their case to undecided voters based on what we saw that night?
You know, I don't think there's too many undecided voters, so I'd say no. I'd actually, you know, it was a wild debate for those of us who watched it. There was some policy in there that could impact Kansans, so this election will matter to Kansans. Donald Trump talked a lot about tariffs. Obviously, tariffs can affect Kansas farmers and manufacturers. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it leads to a trade war and it's not so good. Kamala Harris talked a lot about some money toward first-time home buyers. That's going to help, or also them, and some money toward some people starting a family. So some tax credits there. So there's actually there was some things in this debate that people might want to pay attention to help them also vote.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We'll see you next Sunday right here on 27 KSNT at 10:30 a.m. Have a good day.